Here we go. It is time for another sprint zone, and I have a special guest here with me, my twin brother Paul, who may be chiming in with some of his comments. And it's a special occasion, 826, and let's get the show on the road. So here we are, going into the warm up, and it's a reasonable double pace line. And perhaps I'll ask my brother to maybe comment on what he thinks about, how the group is riding like thus far.
So I will say that this group is a better organized group than I'm used to seeing from just folks out on the road. So, and hats off to whoever's training these folks.
Oh yeah, thank you, brother. Anyway, it's game on, and as the rules of engagement state, we must wait until we round the corner so that everyone has the same disadvantage or advantage. And the reason we do that, of course, is because people are always trying to get advantage, etc., etc. And I'll take this time to thank Ron Kennedy for his camera, which you see in the upper right hand corner. And the game is now afoot. Now, normally I might be up near the front, but I've decided I don't really want to be doing a lot of work today. There's a lot of wheel suckers out there, and I think they need to earn their place. However, I want to stay and keep things honest because if I don't step up, nobody will. So off the front, it looks like we might have Dean off there, and it is finally Curtis that is going to take up the mantle. Kathy in the blue there not doing anything, Brendan not doing anything, just letting him go away. And granted, no GC contenders up the road yet until Curtis goes. And when Curtis in the green goes, alarm bells should be ringing. Looking at the power, my 30-second power, 290, 300. The game is indeed afoot. And you can see behind me, at this point, no selection is made. I don't know if my brother wants to say anything what he sees here, whether he sees good tactics or not, or does he see a bunch of hangers on looking for glory?
Well, I do see people just waiting to have somebody else make the move. They're just apparently just waiting to capitalize perhaps on somebody else's or waiting for somebody else to start.
Yeah, and that's the way it normally is. There are people that are not afraid to show themselves at the pointy end of the stick. Curtis, a very strong cat 3, coming out to play with us. It's nice. And when people realize that there are supers in the group, they know that, well, basically, they should maybe just sit back in. It's good tactics. Thank you, Curtis, for your service there. That was good. And now I'm getting closer to the pointy end of the stick. We got the other Curtis behind me in the red, looking pretty strong. As we're starting to string this out, my power has dropped at this point, but my heart rate's up to 163, which is normally where it should be. And I'm very happy that I think my COVID period is over. Dean up front, throwing it down. I think he's got a triathlon or something he's going for. So he's doing basically 400-watt intervals up there. And we appreciate his service also. Not quite strung out. I see there's a few people hanging out in the side of the road, taking extra wind. I don't know if they're not comfortable. I always give my take on that, but let's have my brother, a seasoned coach with even more experience than myself, see what he sees here.
Well, the group is pretty well aligned. Folks are calling out obstacles. They're keeping proper distance. I see a lot of times folks are riding too close, closer than they need to. I mean, when things start getting a little faster, I see people starting to get a little closer, which is nice. But I see for the most part, everybody's pretty comfortable. I think they're just, again, like I said, waiting for something to happen.
Yep, and it's starting to happen. I dropped back here a little bit, and there were some words here. I think Curtis wanted Dean to slot in up there, and that's like an old trick. People not wanting to go to the front and letting the strong men come back in. Now, if it was maybe sixth or seventh position, I'd have been like, yeah, it's good to let Dean in. But to come back in third position, oh, that's just self-serving. Yeah, and we can't have any of that. Anyway, so I had to drop back for a little bit, but only for a little bit. And it's now time for me to get a little closer to the front. As you can see, I am now in the third position. 30-second power, 290 to 300 watts. It's not easy. And we've got Steve Highland of the OCR group up there. And when he shows up, it's always hard. Heart rate 171. I'm struggling. And looking in comparison, like Ron's heart rate, he's got a nice position. Heart rate 152, only 264 watts 32nd for way back in the group. So that's an indication that the game is on. There's no joke here. You have to earn your place in this one. Any thoughts, brother?
No, I think you stated it pretty clearly.
Okay, so now my heart's up to 176. I am on the rivet. Been up there for like a long time, and I don't really want to be where I am right now. This is the point where I'm hoping a selection would have, in fact, been made, but it hasn't at this point. Good shot of Steve and Danny there. Looking good. It's always good to see Danny go to the front. Sometimes he's one of the hanger-oners back there. Makes a little acceleration, but I'm on the rivet, and I'm not going at this point. Not going to follow that. Going to just sit back because, not that I don't want to, but because I can't. Any thoughts on this one, brother?
Well, I've been there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I am there. So we got Curtis Jensen right behind in the red. I'm going to drift back a little bit, try to recover, and I am. Heart rate has come down to 170. Yeah, like come down to 170. And there's a lot of the Rio team represented here. So now I'm in the wind. Nice little signal where he's coming. And Dean looks like comes through. Looks like maybe Jonathan on his wheel. And somewhere back here, Jonathan's lovely wife, JJ, is in the mix. It is her very first TFR ride. And I'll try to point her out so everybody can see and welcome her into the history books of being on the TFR. So this is a little selection point here. This little grade here makes everybody struggle. And you can see in the Ron cam, Steve, I believe, has made the attack, and everyone is caught in the rears. There's JJ in the Rio kit with the red cap underneath the black helmet, looking really strong. Elisa was next to her teammates. And one of these days, I'm thinking that the Rio team is going to get organized, that they're going to make something happen, that they're not going to just be a bunch of people wearing the same kit. And now everyone is strung out. Thoughts, brother?
No, just enjoying it. It looks pretty good. I see a lot of suffering from where I'm sitting. I'm actually kind of glad I'm not part of that mix.
Excellent. I wish I wasn't part of the mix. So heart rate 174. I'm alive here. Curtis looking strong. I want to keep a good position. There goes Dean falling back. Dean, thank you for your service. It looks like Steve Masted at the front. Curtis at the number 2 wheel. Ron up there looking strong. Ron's 32nd power above 220. Mine, as I drift back, has finally come into a reasonable range, like in the 150s, as I'm trying to recover for the final push up the little hill. There goes Brendan there. Very consistent. Doesn't really react to a lot of anything. Just kind of holds his pace. Danny looking strong in front. And I think I wanted to hold my position here. Oh, and there's a good shot of JJ. Jonathan's lovely wife. Really strong rider. And it's good to have more women here. Got Elisa back there in the red Rio kit. And we got Brian back there, another older gentleman on the Rio team. It's nice that they have like charity rides, and doesn't matter how old they are, they will allow senior citizens, to be a part of their team. Yeah, maybe that was a little cruel. And, I don't want to be cruel and point people out. And I did not show that part of the video, but there was one older gentleman that I just mentioned that crossed the yellow line. I mentioned it on the TFR page. Not going to point it out here when that happened. I'm just going to let that slide. But I think the Rio team needs to police their own. Anyhow, enough said about that. The pace is hotting up. Curtis, a very savvy Cat 3 racer right behind me. He knows a good wheel when he sees it. Nice little echelon here. And this is, in fact, the final push. I'm pretty much on the rivet. And I think at this point, I am going to say adios. But I did everything I could. Any thoughts on what's going on here, brother?
Well, no, not really. I'm thinking the camera bike should have a motor on occasion so that I could stick with the action. But aside from that, very entertaining.
Oh, thank you. So look at the Ron cam in the upper right. Steve Hyland up there ramming and thumping. Curtis Jensen on his wheel. And there goes the elbow, forcing Curtis to the front out of honor. At this point, you don't really want to go to the front, because it pretty much means you will be ejected if you go hard, unless you, of course, have a 2-letter name like JC, in which case, yeah, he could pull and then get back in. My power, 32nd, 212, above my FTP, but it's been a long, long, long day. And there goes Curtis in the green, making his move up the left-hand side, looking strong. And then it looks like Steve Hyland's going, but Curtis is definitely going to string people out here. And it is go time. And I have not been counting, but you'll notice there were several people that just hung on, didn't go to the front, didn't do anything yet, as the selection continues to be refined. And there's about 200 yards to go. My heart rate up to 177. This is pretty much my limit today. 30-second power 330. So it's no joke up there. And there's no shelter. The slight echelon that we had has been destroyed. The Ron cam looks good. Ron's in third position. Looks like Curtis is going hard. Steve Hyland even not able to hold Curtis to his wheel, but that is okay. And at this point, my heart rate 178, and the top of the hill is in fact the end of the sprint zone. Elisa coming through, strong finish, and that was fun. I was close enough to be able to see what was going on. What do you think, brother?
That was nice. That was very enjoyable. Nice group.
Thank you. Anyway, a little cool down here. Finally, heart rate down to 166. I keep telling myself I need to do one of those tests. Brian Johnson's always talking about it. You know, the millionaire or billionaire, the guy that like is trying to like live forever. Where you take your heart rate up, and then a minute later you see how many beats it goes down, and there's a number that tells you how fit you are. Yeah, I need to do that one of these days. See how fast I can recover. That seems like it's come down pretty good from like 178 to 153, and probably, I don't know, a minute maybe? Minutes of time period. I could probably clock it and find out. Here's a little turnaround. Life is good. Congratulations to the big men that did work. A good time was had by all. All right, that's it. Party on.
It's a wrap.
All right, there we go. Special view. It's a wrap. Yeah. And there's the tagline.